All right, well, happy Viking homecoming week. All right, I didn't get the proper response. Happy Viking homecoming week. All right, let's go Vikings, let's go Vikings. Students, we are so proud of you. Happy homecoming week to all the alum that are home. Welcome back home, and we hope you have an amazing homecoming week. Let's go Vikings. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our second in-person meeting of 2022. To all of those on Zoom, thank you for joining us. Please feel free to engage via the chat. We love to talk. We look forward to hearing from you also. This year, we have been taking a survey of all the services network members provide to people in the 24-1. Each month, we have spent time learning about a different type of service members provide, from working with expected parents and babies to providing a safe place for young people to go when they have nowhere else to turn. Our hope is that each month you take away at least one thing that will help you serve people in this community. This month, we're going to talk about young people again. The leaders and educators in the Normandy School Collaborative work hard every day to ensure that every student has a chance to succeed. And as for the network and its members, we want to do our part to contribute to their success. One way we contribute is by supporting the Beyond Housing Family Engagement Liaisons, also known as the FELS, who work, let's take a minute, the FELS, who work in Normandy schools. With the FELS as a strong foundation, the Normandy Schools Collaborative is engaging with other service providers to reach NSC families, none more so than Beyond Housing. And so today, we will hear from leaders of Beyond Housing and NSC about their collaboration and what it means for NSC students and their families. First, I'll ask Chris Krameyer of Beyond Housing to share more with us about Beyond Housing and NSC's collaboration before heading into our panel for the day. Chris?
Thanks, Andy. I'll be really brief. The importance of the idea of supporting the children of this community so they can be successful, and as a byproduct, then the school district can be successful, then as a byproduct, the community can thrive. The work of our family engagement liaisons, thanks to the great support of the network for many, many years, has been critical. And again, kudos to the fellows in the room. Thank you guys for caring about children so much each and every day. But we need to do more. The idea of wraparound service is something that's been talked about and has been attempted over the years with not a lot of great success, quite frankly. So what we're going to talk about today is the critical importance of continuing to see what are the big challenges that the children and the families who send their kids to the Normandy Schools Collaborative face each and every day. And how can we collectively and successfully, again, provide those services, those critical services to ensure educational success. And typically what we're doing in this room has nothing to do with English, social studies, math, and science. It has to do with all the other things that will help that child be successful. So I'm thrilled that we're here. Again, thanks to the network for their wonderful support of the fellows for so many years. Thank you guys for your support. You're going to have a great panel. You're going to hear a lot of great stuff. Thanks.
Okay, y'all, we got to show a lot more love. Let's give it up for Chris from Beyond Housing. There we go. I know it's a Thursday, it's early, but network meetings are fun, so you got to shake that off. We have fun in here. And so we're going to meet our panel for today. If our panel will come on up and join us. Let's give them a round of applause as they join us. And today you'll notice we're going to get right into the discussion because we want you involved today. We want to hear your questions. And let me get this microphone. Okay. And I cannot do this, guys, because I am busting at the seams. If you know me, I am busting at the seams. I gotta sit down here too with them. Okay, thanks guys for letting me sit down with you. So first up, to introduce themselves on the panel, will be Carrie Collins. Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie Collins. I hate when people reintroduce themselves. They've already been said their name, but that's me. I I serve as the Senior Director of Education at Beyond Housing. And our education department is comprised of 4 programs: Family Engagement Liaisons, or the FELS, as many of you know them by. We also have Pagedale Family Support Center, that is a community center in the traditional sense, but also houses our youth programs, which includes after-school and summer programming, and sports league, Redbird Rookies, in the summer. We have Viking Advantage, which is a college access and savings program. If y'all don't know about that, ask me later. It's amazing. It's a really good program. And then our newest program, which we're talking about today, is coordinating wraparound services and resources for the Normandy Schools Collaborative. I'm a career educator. I've been everything from a self-contained high school teacher to a building principal, elementary principal. And I've tried to not be in education so that I could live a more luxurious life, but it never worked out. I always came back. I understand that this is what I was born to do. I've accepted that. And I'm very happy to be doing this work. This role that I have at Beyond Housing is by far my most favorite position I've had in my career. And I'm very happy to be here.
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Harris. I serve as the Assistant Superintendent for Support Services with Normandy Schools Collaborative. And with Normandy, we have a little bit over 3,000 students that attend our 7 schools. What does support services mean? Anything that relates to students. So if you can think of anything, whether it is academics, family support, enrollment, attendance, code of conduct, families, anything dealing with students falls under my department. I have been with Normandy School District for 6 years. Prior to Normandy, I have been in multiple urban districts in the area, serving as, I started out as a reading recovery teacher. I'm kind of dating myself because reading recovery, it's been about 20 years since we've had it in the school systems. But I started out doing reading recovery, the multi-age groups. When we didn't use grade levels, they had that one little trend where all the kids within a certain age were grouped together. So I've done a little bit of that. I've done middle school, instructional coaching, and I served as a principal for several years. Most recently with Normandy, I was the director of special programs, and now I'm serving as the assistant superintendent for support services. And so if you have any questions about who to contact or how to support Normandy, you're going to probably get referred to me.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Beinke, and I am the new manager of Wraparound Coordination for Normandy Schools Collaborative. I've been with Beyond Housing for about a month and a half now, and I'm really happy to be here. Before Beyond Housing, I worked for Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri as a community engagement manager. I worked with the Hazelwood and Ferguson-Floreston school districts, and then my educational background is in psychology and anthropology, but specifically mental health practices in schools.
Wow, wow, wow. Well, let's give our panelists a round of applause. All right, so you know I'm fun panelists, so it's going to be a fun panel for those watching and for those in the room. We will have a period after these questions to have Q&A, so I know a few partners have a few questions, so you can start putting those in the chat as we do the discussion or write them down in front of you. Our first question is, can you all talk to us about what wraparound services are like in NSC and how they've been in the past?
Sure. So I have, October makes 4 years that I have been with Beyond Housing and in partnership with Normandy Schools Collaborative. And if I recall correctly, it's been close to 3 years that there has not been a holistic approach to coordinating wraparound. The prior entity that coordinated stopped the year before COVID. And so there's been no coordination in that time since then. So what we're looking at now is just Julia wrapping her hands around everything, getting a hold of things and putting things in line. Prior to the prior entity served in the role sort of along the lines of, they were part of the executive leadership team for Normandy Schools Collaborative. And as we get further into the discussion, I'll explain how that's changed. But it's our intent to have a thoughtful, mindful process of starting this work and then continuing it in a way that truly does serve Normandy Schools students, families, teachers, staff, faculty, the whole lot in terms of the school community. I think Dr. Harris can speak a lot to how it's changed.
I can add to some of the challenges and changes that have occurred. As Carrie spoke to us previously having an organizer for wraparound services prior to the pandemic. When we lost that support, our wraparound services kind of dwindled a little bit more with the onset of the pandemic. We were kind of shut off from close communication, and some services were not permitted into the buildings, and then just honestly, our students weren't on site, and so it was challenging to get them on board. Not only that, we tried to do some online services, but our families in the community didn't have the services at home, the internet, the laptops and computers as strongly to make sure those services were continuing. And I think with the pandemic, it put us in a more lackadaisical mode when the kids are home, and I think we weren't able to get those services on board. And so we lost a few of our services, and a lot of the wraparound services are in place because of grants. And the grants are based on services provided. And when you're not providing services, you lose funds.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what happened with us. And so now what we're hoping and what we're seeing is that with Beyond Housing supporting us with the organization and the networking with wraparound services and community partners, we're able to bring back that juice that we needed to support our students. And so our goal this year is to increase the amount of services and community partners that we have to support our students.
Yeah, well, okay.
So just a brief overview of what I've been working on currently is editing lists of partners and then tracking down the current MOUs, fielding questions from wraparound partners, working with our evaluation and learning team on program design, and then creating standardized documents for MOUs and evaluation tools.
Well, okay. Thank you guys for those answers. So this is a question I'm really interested in, and I know some of the partners will be also. What are some needs you all have identified with families and students in NSC? How has this changed over time?
I'll say that prior to the pandemic, we've always needed support with students with academics, with the literacy and mathematics, tutoring, and some one-on-one mentoring. But the pandemic really stifled the social skills of students. And we are finding that our students are experiencing stress and anxiety at a younger age. You know, you're used to adults feeling the stress and anxiety, but it's challenging when you've not been around people and other people, others other than your family. And so when they are merged back into the schools with people who are unique and different from them, it's challenging for them to get back into the habit of sharing and talking and just knowing how to socialize. And so we have found that is one of our biggest needs, helping the students to build those social skills, learn how to deal with stress and anxiety. Students are aware of what they can and cannot do. And we think that it's not stressful to them, but students are stressed and they're anxious when they don't understand something and they don't know how to express that. And so we really need individuals and supports with helping them with that one-on-one support, teaching them how to cope and how to maintain and how to speak up and advocate for themselves because they don't know how to do that. And so that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, Julia.
And so to speak to those physical and mental health and academic support needs, we've enlisted the family engagement liaisons to gather some staff and some parents to gain insight on what programs worked well or what is needed to fill the gaps of services and resources. And then Carrie and I plan to share that with the Normandy School Collaborative leaders, get their input as well, and then we're going to design a comprehensive strategic plan.
I want to add one more thing, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. We focus so much on students that we forget the adults. Our teachers are suffering and our staff are suffering as well. And so we need supports for them as well. We've got to teach them how to get back into the groove of having that full classroom because while we see those numbers of COVID going down, some people still have a little anxiety because they have health concerns. And so we have to support our staff as well. So those are some other services that we'll need.
Right, when Dr. Harris talks about what it's like for school communities to return after the pandemic, keep in mind, we have children who started second grade or third grade this year who never had the experience of being in the classroom and their teacher teaching them and coaching them on how to stay seated at a desk or how to share items, in a desk group of pods. They're in second grade now, third grade now, and they've never learned to walk through the halls quietly, or to raise your hand and wait to be called upon if you have a question or need to use the restroom. And that is causing, all sorts of imaginable and unimaginable challenges in classrooms. The frustration of students, and then also the exhaustion, right, of teachers. One of my favorite teachers from when I was a principal is a kindergarten teacher, and we are friends on social media, and I feel for her with some of the posts she makes that, just speaking to the frustrations of what has happened this year. And she's a strong teacher, so if she's frustrated, I know everybody is. We can really appreciate Dr. Harris's mention of staff and students. That's one of our notes that stays at the top of our sticky notes and discussions when Julia and I meet. Of course, many of you know, all I care about is kids and their families, but that's not true. But I'm very intent on my work around children and their families, and it's very helpful for Dr. Harris and Julia to keep bringing to the forefront that we need to find a way for our work in coordinating wraparound services to support the adults in the buildings too. And, so as we're talking and you're thinking about what your entities and organizations and programs do, please keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I see a lot of heads nodding with what she said. So thank you all for sharing that. Our next question, who are some of the current partners you engage with in wraparound services? And anyone can answer.
So it's many of you today in the room. It's very nice to put faces to names, and I look forward to building the relationship with you all. I kind of identified 5 categories for support services. So there's mental health, physical health, basic needs, academic, and parent and family engagement. So we'll just kind of continue to work on balancing that throughout all of the Normandy schools.
I think it's important. One of the things, you know, when just in speaking of what hasn't been provided, all of these in these 2 years, and then understanding that Normandy is not immune at all to the challenges that the, you know, national and local news will tell you is experienced across the country in terms of student behaviors. You know, one of the first things people mention why teachers are leaving the position is that student behaviors have really escalated. And what I've always said, that every undesirable behavior is a result of an unmet need, right? So my hope, and of course I don't run it, Julia does, but my hope would be that we could really find a way to focus on mental health and social emotional needs when we talk about the big picture for wraparound. Now, that's not to say that academics and parent engagement are not important, but we want to understand how those supports end up, you know, supporting emotional, social emotional health and mental health as well.
Okay. And then our last question before we throw it out there to you all to engage. How can partners get involved with NSC and wraparound services if they aren't already? I see a lot of heads nodding, so how can those folks hop in if they're not in already?
They can contact Julia, Julia Beinke, J Beinke, JBEINKE at beyondhousing.org. You'll be tempted to contact Dr. Harris, but if you start with Julia, Julia knows exactly what needs to make it to Dr. Harris in a way that is concise. She is a very busy woman, many of you know. She has continued with the responsibilities that she had last year, or in prior years, but then also picked up, you know, additional responsibilities. So we adore her work. We know she's capable, but we want to be as much of a support to her as we can.
So if you send me an email, I'm going to forward it to Julie. and I don't want to turn anyone away. So I make sure you understand that she'll be your starting point. And you're going to get back to Normandy. And she's not outside of Normandy. She just has a different person that pays her. But she still, you know, we like to say that we all work for Normandy. Mm-hmm. We may just get our pay from other sources, but we all work for Normandy.
For sure.
Well, we are all Vikings, and I can say that I'm one. Dr. Harris, recently I was at her office and I got a Normandy School Collaborative uniform shirt, and it is hanging up in my office because I am so proud to be a Viking. So I like to think I'm an honorary Viking here. Now that we've kind of gotten some of our questions out the way, we would love to hear from you all. I know that we have someone monitoring the chat, so if there's any questions in the chat, please feel free to let us know. Anyone in the room have a question for our panel today? Okay. Hold on one sec, I'm coming to you. I shouldn't have sat down, you know, my knees. Here you go.
I'm Marcia Ranger, and I'm with Renee Siegelhurst, and we're from the National Council of Jewish Women. And we provide closets inside of all 5 Normandy Middle School. And one of the things that we have done is provide uniforms and then coats, hats, gloves, personal care items, etc. And Allie, just struck me when you said you got a Normandy school uniform shirt.
Yeah.
And last year, there was a policy where kids needed to wear logoed uniforms. And I know that we were just wondering if there's been a decision yet on what the go forward is on how kids need to show up at school from a dress code perspective and how we can support you on that.
First and foremost, we just want them in school. And, you know, sometimes we have kids that come to school and they're not in uniform. We're not sending them home. All students are welcome every day, no matter what they're wearing. Mm-hmm. If they're not dressed appropriately, we support them with getting them uniforms. Yeah. We have monogram uniforms, and we are going to move forward with allowing the schools to govern their uniform policy and their dress code. We want to allow our principals and our school leaders to take ownership and buy into their uniforms. So I believe they're going to be working with their families to make sure that they are getting a uniform dress code that fits the needs of their community. But every student is welcome no matter what they're wearing. And because of you, we're able to support uniforming them in clothing that's appropriate for school.
And Marcy and Renee, and for anyone else with the same question, it's what I've heard a lot of is that, you know, principals are very willing to re-include the navy bottoms and the dark bottoms for uniforms. When we talk about the logoed uniforms, we have a supply of logoed uniforms, but again, as Dr. Harris has said, we want students there. So that's not the requirement. The requirement is whatever the colors of the school has presented as what they'd like to see their students in. Right now, across the board, all students in elementary, middle, and early learning center, tell me if I'm wrong about early learning center, are green shirts, is that correct? And high school is red. They are not red, they're white. High school is white. But again, I've also heard with tan bottoms, but I've also heard directly out of principals' mouths that, you know, they can also wear navy, black bottoms, and the colors vary according to school, but we will be sure to make sure that you've got all that information that you need.
And also, thank you, Marcy. I know that you're going to be moving on, and we just want to thank you so much for all the work you've done in the network and for all the partners and families in NSC. I think we should give Marcy a round of applause for the network. Do I have any other questions in here for our panel? I can't see over on that side. Any questions in the chat? Okay.
One thing I did want to say, Ailey,
Sure.
Were there questions in the chat? Sorry, I don't want to stop.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I briefly mentioned that when the former coordinators were with Normandy, they were part of the executive leadership team. I think it's important for everybody to know that we are not taking that approach. It's our intent to serve the executive leadership team and along with everyone else in the school community. We certainly will answer any questions, make any presentations, provide any data to them, but we in our role will not make the board agenda as had been done previously. We want to be, in our minds, more organic and hands on the ground, boots on the ground, and with our focus and our engagement and communication being directly with you, being directly with the service and resource providers in Normandy.
So what are some things that partners should keep in mind as they kind of navigate working in NSC? Any advice or things that you know should be at top of the list as they navigate that?
I'm going to pass it down, but it's my hope that what we have is, think of it like as a curated group of service providers. Sometimes the desire is to be able to show the world that we have a list of all these partners who are in Normandy, but the reality is we do have a list of all these partners who are in Normandy and they're not serving students and families. So we want to have impactful partners in Normandy serving students, family, and adults. And I'll let Dr. Harris and Julia speak more to that.
I wanted to mention some of the challenges or things that you're going to see in Normandy schools. We are challenged, just as all school districts across the nation are, with a shortage of staff. With that shortage of staff, you're going to see larger classrooms. You're going to see teachers struggling to meet the needs of all students because those classroom sizes are larger. And because those students have those challenges in social skills and the stress and the anxiety that they're dealing with, you may see a little bit more challenging behavior, but that's where we need you. That's where we need that one-on-one mentoring or someone in the classroom just providing those additional supports, because our students really, really need that love and attention. And sometimes their needs are camouflaged in behavior. Another thing that you're going to see at the high school, and I think we didn't recognize this until we start to meet as a team and think about what's happening and what's going on. Our 9th graders this year are coming back to school cold. Their last time in the building was as a 6th grader. So they didn't have a true middle school experience. They're not used to exchanging classes. And so when they're at that high school and there's not a lot of hands-on guidance, you know, they're all over the place because they just think, oh, we get to walk around, because they've not had that freedom. They don't know what it's like to exchange classes. And so we have to rethink that and provide them with those supports. And so that's a little jarring for them because this is a new experience for them. And so as a district, we are rethinking that and making sure that we try to add some additional supports to help them and groom them into the high school mode. You know, you don't think about it, but if you go back and you think, this is, you know, and that's probably across the nation. 9th grade didn't have a true middle school experience. And so we're feeling it. We are feeling it.
Julia, if not, Chris?
So not a question, but more a response to that last question. I think it's really important, and too often, because we see an immediate need, we address that immediate need, whether in this case it's the behavior of a child, and we need to address that behavior. But I think it's important for everybody in this room to recognize and try to understand, we also need to get to the root cause of that behavior. Clearly, we want to address it in the moment. Yeah. But if we only address it in the moment and don't get to the root cause, then it's going to repeat itself over and over again, right? So if us in the room can stay connected and see if there are other issues that other organizations may have a resource for, that's again, the whole idea of wraparound is connectivity, right? What are the key issues that you know, Dr. Harrison and everyone else is saying, here's what we need help in, and then recognize, okay, who has that resource, and then what else are we finding, right? Is it a housing issue? Is it a health issue? Is it an employment issue? What's the challenge, and how we stay connected collectively? Because that's how the children and their families are going to be healthier and stronger, if we can remember to do that in addition to in the moment and serving that need in the moment. For us, we call it the difference between transactional services and transformational services, right? So again, how do we always be thinking about how do we ladder up to ensure that this child has everything that they need to live their best possible lives?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you all for that answer. I think we have a question in the chat, so we're going to pop back here to Natasha to give us that question.
All right, what options are available to parents when the schools are closed on Fridays and they do not have alternative childcare?
There are multiple childcare. Rashawn's not, is Uford? Nobody's Uford's here. Okay. There are multiple childcare programs in the 24-1 that that are open for school-age children on those days when students don't have school on Fridays. I don't know the specifics. Dr. Harris, do you know more about that?
I can't think of all of them offhand, but I know Girls Inc., some of the community daycare centers who've had those children under their care as youngsters, or who may have some of the family members, they offer care as well. And I just can't think of some of the daycare centers in the community, but I know Girls Inc. offers support.
Well, yeah, and you can also, partners, you can email me. My email should be somebody can put it in the chat for us. I know offhand, I'm thinking of Epworth. I'm thinking of their drop-in center. They would be like a 3 to about 7 o'clock, I'm thinking, or 6 o'clock. I'll get that to you. I'm also thinking offhand about St. Vincent's. They also have a drop-in center. I popped in both of those recently, and it was fun. They had a lot of young people over there. So those are two that I'm thinking of offhand where they can be safe, and they also have at St. Vincent's places where they can make music. And so I think those are two places that I'm thinking of offhand that can provide those services on a Friday. So if there's any other ones that I can kind of come up with or that you all come up with, maybe we can make a list, whatever's more helpful to partners. So my email's in the chat. Whoever sent that question, please reach out to us. Are there any other questions in the room? Okay, and any more on the chat? Okay, all right. Well, thank you all so much for being here today. If you all want to give us some final closing thoughts before we move on. And we can start from the end or however, the middle.
I think what I'm really looking forward to is the input from school staff and parents and guardians and school and district administration on what services they need for the schools. And I think I really want to say that our goal is quality, not quantity, and then definitely transparency.
Most important is serve the kids. And so we're going to be tapping into you more. We may run out of services because we're going to be tapping into you so much. And so if we are not using you as much, call us, because sometimes our schools are familiar with certain services and they tend to overuse those. And so if you have a service that's not being utilized, give us a call, contact us. I've got some cards on me today. You can send me an email and make sure I remember what services you offer so that as we have our counselor and social worker meetings, we can get that information out to them.
I want to start by thanking the current partners and potential partners for your patience. As Julia is a month and a half into this, she has taken on a tremendous task of sorting through and organizing things. She is I'm so impressed with her organization. She researches everything, and I just really appreciate that about her. I'll say something and she'll say, so I'll send her a list of things I want to talk about, and she'll reply, oh, I was on their website earlier, things like that. So thank you for your patience. We look forward to this endeavor growing. And then I want to end by saying everyone who works with me, the 2 Early Learning Center fellows who are here today will tell you, my common phrase is, if you don't do right by kids, nothing good's going to come to you, right? So in order for good to come to Normandy, we have to do right by the children in Normandy.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Hold on, I've got to readjust here. Okay. Sorry about that. And that was awesome. So that's the end of our panel, and we're gonna move on to the rest of our program. But again, thank you guys so much. At this point, we would like to welcome our CEO, Mr. Winston Calvert. Now, if you all know Winston, you know he's fun. And at our last in-person meeting, he mentioned something about smoke and music. Well, here's his music. Give it up, give it up.
Thank you, Ailey. Thank you, Ailey. That's very thoughtful of you. And I just wanted to make sure that my entry was more notable than Chris's. So,
It was.
yeah.
Come to my building next time.
I've been there, and you didn't have you didn't have walk-on music. So, for me or for you, which was remarkable. I know you're very proud of your humility. I did draft a really great one-liner about making fun of both myself and Chris, but Ailey refused to read it to you all. So we'll have to share that when we're not being filmed. So I'm here to just talk a little bit about what the Community Impact Network as an organization is working on, and some changes that we've made and are going to be making, and how we're going to be guiding our organization into the future, and how we invest our resources that have been entrusted to us, and how we hope to coordinate and collaborate with all of you. So I think it's always important to start with what you believe, and ideally what you do flows from that. And so there's really three core things that I believe, that we believe about, that have led to what we're going to do in the future. One is that everyone deserves the opportunity to learn what they need to learn, so that they can live a successful life and leave a legacy for their family and their community. Number two, that those opportunities to do that, the opportunity to learn what you need to learn, live a successful life, and leave a legacy for your family and community, are not fairly and equitably distributed in our community, in our region, and that gets to a lot of the challenges that the educators and students of the school district overcome every day. And then the third thing is that there are people and organizations, namely you all, who are doing the work of creating those opportunities for kids and adults and families in the 24-1 area, so that they can learn what they need to learn and live a successful life and leave a legacy for their community and their family. And so our role at the Community Impact Network is to serve the people that are creating those opportunities, to serve you all and your organizations with the resources that have been entrusted to us and to our care, and to invest those resources, whether they're financial or staffing or organizational resources of other kinds, in engaging with you and collaborating with you and finding solutions to overcome challenges, so that people in this area can have those opportunities to learn what they need to learn and live a successful life and leave a legacy for their family and for their community. So that's kind of how we are seeing ourselves as an organization, the Community Impact Network, and where we're going to be focused on working with you all to make that a reality in this area. And that's and I wish there was walk-off music, because then it would start about now. But I'll ask Chris Kramer to whistle my walk-off music. But that's that's a little bit update on where we're going. So we've adopted a new mission statement to that effect, and we're starting to align what we do along those lines, and the opportunities that we're supporting and going to support in the future are aligned with that mission. So that's my update, and I'm happy to talk with some of you, or all of you, in fact, except for Ailey. I get enough Ailey. Only because she gets enough of me. So that's good. Yes, Kramer. Chris did something good.
He's got him some walk-off music. Let's give him a round of applause, y'all.
Yeah, we have fun. We have a good time. We have a ball here. So before I let you go, we have some announcements, and we have some really exciting announcements. So yes, I'm gonna be extra. Yes, I'm gonna be dramatic. So just get ready. Okay, so in our announcement section for coming up in our important dates, October 15th, let's get our business out the way before we do the fun. October 15th, where we are quarterly metrics due from grantees. November 10th will be our next network meeting. It will be via Zoom. It will be our part 2 to our housing continuum discussion. And then December 8th, we'll have an end of the year award ceremony after that in person. And I will be happy to talk to you a little bit more about that in a second. But first, I want to give some announcements from our partners. So it is October. This month is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We have a few partners working to support women throughout the 24/1 this month with events. The Normandy Early Learning Center FELS, woo woo, they're here today, are hosting a pink ribbon chat and chew at the Normandy Early Learning Center on October 19th, 2022 from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. You do have to RSVP by October 17th. You can contact Miss Kathleen Johnson or Miss Marcia Hayes Harris, or you can email me and I'll be happy to put you in touch with them. So let's make sure we support. They're also working with Pink Ribbon Girls, who are also one of our partners, so we're really excited to see this collaboration. Also, over at the Normandy Early Learning Center, the FELS are on fire. They have another event coming up on October 28th. They will have their, am I saying it right, Trunk Fest? The Trunk Fest, and they are looking for partners to participate and have a trunk with candy and educational activities for students and parents who will be in attendance. So if you're interested in participating and having a trunk, we're gonna have a trunk, so come join us. Please email me again on that and I'll get you in touch with Miss Kathleen Johnson or Miss Marcia Hayes Harris, or if you have their email, you can contact them. Let me go to our next announcement here, which we're really excited about. Hold on, we have a slide for it. We're having a trauma-informed care training. Clap that up. So in May, our meeting, at the meeting, the topic of trauma-informed care came up in our discussion. So we engaged with partners and worked with Alive and Well to come up with the training for the network. We are excited to share that they have come up with a 4-hour training session for your frontline workers and direct service providers. The training session will include multiple topics, from trauma-related care to COVID-19, all the way to self-care practices for your staff. So the training will be held Wednesday, November 16th, 2022 from 8:30 to 12:30 p.m. at the network building. We love to eat. There will be breakfast. If you would like to know more about the sign up, please feel free to email me, and I should send you some information in the coming days. So we have limited availability, but we would love for you to send your staff. We think it's going to be a dynamic time with Alive and Well. And then next, okay, I'm excited. I'm proud to announce our Night with the Stars. As Winston just shared, service is the core of the network. Our support for those on the front lines serving this community is fundamental to our work. And so it's through that lens that we have worked on an event that focuses on those serving our community on those front lines. This is not your typical award ceremony. This ceremony is a night with the service stars in our community. At the network, we are happy to let others highlight the amazing work of leadership, but we think it is also important to highlight the work of those serving people throughout the 24/1. That's a long way to say that this December, the network will be holding an event to honor those workers, these people who are on the front lines every day. At the event, we will present 3 awards. The Teamwork Award. This award is geared toward the individual who has found new ways to collaborate with other service providers, no matter how small the collaboration may be. We also have the Solutions Award. This award is geared toward the individual in your organization who has crafted
crafted or created solutions to challenges that you or your organization face. The Listening Award. This award is geared toward the individual in your organization who has done an extraordinary job of engaging with community and listening to those who you serve. We also have a nomination process that I kind of want to talk to you about. Each organization can nominate one person out of all three categories. So let's say you might have somebody you want to nominate for the Solutions Award, or you might have somebody you want to nominate for the Listening Award. You have to find that one award that fits your nominee. So each organization can nominate one person, select the award category that best fits your nominee. We'll also be asking for your submissions on November 1st by 5 p.m. So we'll have to have all the nomination forms in by then. Eligibility requirements, the nonprofit organizations that are active members of the Community Impact Network as of October 1st, 2022. The nominee must be an active employee, volunteer, or independent contractor of your organization. The nominee must serve the 24/1 community, and at least 25% of their time is spent providing direct, face-to-face, in-person or virtual services to people who live or work within the boundaries of the 24/1 community. You will receive an email with more details on how to nominate, what's the link, and all this information that I just shared with you tomorrow. So don't forget to nominate your star service provider in your organization. It's the Oscars, the network style remix. We are so excited to have you guys here another time, and really hope you guys have a really great rest of your month. Happy October. If there's anything we can do at the network, please feel free to reach out. My email is everywhere. It's in the chat. Thank you guys for coming. To our panelists, we really appreciate you guys, and we're behind you 100%. If you agree with me and we want to let them know that we have their back, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, partners. We'll see you again next month.